So today I want to talk about lead distribution because it's something that's built into ActiveMan. It's something that's very powerful that ActiveMan can do, and I think more of our customers should try it out and learn a little bit more about it. Today we'll be going through what is a lead scoring. We'll look at some simple lead distribution, but ultimately we're going to spend most of our time on advanced lead distribution and increasing accountability in there. So if you're part of an agency or if you have many different clients, that accountability part is going to be very interesting and very useful for you. At least I found it very useful when I worked at an agency. So first off, let's just start with a real simple question. What is a lead? Because some people may not have a defined concept of it. Really, it's a set of prospect signals. It's going to be a set of things that we see from a prospect that says, yes, this person is someone I want sales to talk to, and I have enough information that sales can talk to them. And typically, marketing and sales would work together to define what a lead is, or what a sales ready, or sometimes they're called marketing qualified lead is. Uh, and the reason why marketing and sales need to work together on this is because leads are a critical marketing KPI in a true performance-based marketing group. For most businesses, marketing is generating leads. It's kind of hard to measure like goodwill, but it is easy to measure leads and the number of business leads that you're bringing in for the business. So it's very critical from that aspect. Sales will not pay attention to crappy converting leads. I have had customers where I was generating lots of leads for them, and I went and checked in. Hey, how are these leads going? And they're like, oh, yeah, sales doesn't pay any attention to those. Oh, stabbed me through the heart. It just just cut me right there. I was doing all this work to doing Google ads and SEO and Facebook and organic stuff, and sales isn't even looking at them. Boy, that killed. So really, the signal to noise ratio of leads, it has to be more signal than noise. You can't send crappy leads to sales too often, or they just won't pay attention to them. And the last thing to mention here is that agencies who speak in leads keep clients longer and keep clients happier longer. Uh, really, clients, when they are paying for marketing, they typically want some sort of business result, and that business result frequently is leads. Sometimes it's hiring, sometimes it's other things that they're after, but frequently for your small to medium sized companies, they're looking for sales leads and increased revenue as a result of marketing. So if you're able to speak to your clients in terms of the leads you brought in terms of the sales qualified leads that you've brought in for each of the different channels that you're responsible for, your clients will be happier. It'll be easier for them to see the business impact that you bring to their business, and it will be harder for them to fire you if they have a bad month. Some example leads, or some examples of what you might want to consider for leads. Prospect who calls in and wants to buy. Yeah, okay, that's a lead. Kind of hard to handle though, right? We should still measure that because marketing helped drive that in. So we should, do some sort of call tracking. Prospect wants an email quote. It's a pretty strong signal. Again, we still have to run that through that process. Maybe they're on live chat and they want to talk to sales. They were talking to support. Now they want to talk to sales. They demonstrated an interest in a product or service. I like to pair this one with my leads. If my leads don't have a demonstrated interest in a specific product or service, they're kind of hard to send to sales. I prefer, as a barrier to entry between marketing and sales, that lead gap or the jump that they need to make. I prefer that I have their name, phone number, email address, business, and a demonstrated interest in something or other, because otherwise it's just it might as well just be those business cards you get when you go to a trade show and you put out a fishbowl and you say, win a pair of golf clubs, and you get a bunch of business cards. They're not really interested in anything, and they're basically cold leads at that point and not warm or hot leads, right? Prospect self-booked a discovery meeting. Oh, I love these ones. And it can be as simple as they went onto the website, they used the appointment scheduler, and they booked in a meeting with sales to go through discovery. Fantastic quality lead. And further down the sales funnel than some of these other things that we're talking about right now. Maybe support identified. Hey, we've got this customer and there's this upsell opportunity that we've got with them. That's a lead. That's a potential lead to hand over to sales as well. So lots of interesting ways that we can pass leads, that we can potentially get leads to sales. So lots of things that we would need to consider when we're looking at how to track this stuff, right? This is part of the reason why a marketing automation suite like Active Demand is really crucial in lead measurement, because if you don't have your gauges set on all of these things, you're going to miss out on a lot of the data that you could potentially be getting. And in Active Demand, a sales-ready lead is a lead emailed to sales. That's one of the real meat and potatoes definitions that we use. That's very easy to figure out how it works and what a good quality lead is. So let's look at some simple lead distribution options, and I'm not going to go very in depth on these because they're they're not very in depth. Some companies will send all leads to all salespeople. So someone fills out a form on the website. That form goes to all the salespeople, or it goes to Bill, the sales guy, or whoever is responsible for sales, right? So that's one option. Or another option, some companies use a qualifying salesperson or a BDR or SDR to qualify out leads before they go to account managers, and that's an option as well that some companies have explored. So there's some simple examples. Just email it. Active Demand has a Slack integration. Those are kind of cool because putting them into Slack, you can comment on them and that kind of thing. So we found that works really nicely. But ultimately, this is typically like an email out to sales. Cool. Okay, so my in-depth description of simple lead distribution is over. Time to talk about some cooler stuff. The first one is lead scoring. Lead scoring is built into Active Demand when you're looking at the corporate marketer. It's on a per contact basis, and it's as well on the account basis. And we average out the lead scores of all the contacts in that account. So it's something that programmatically can be adjusted. It's something that can also be manually adjusted. So if you look at a lead and you're like, oh yeah, that's a really good lead, you can manually change their lead scores just by clicking on that gauge there and changing them around. Here, let me just grab one of these and I can just show you. This is a live view of a screen. I can see there's their lead score, and I can just click there to change their lead score manually, or I can automatically do it. And the automatically way is of course the cooler way of doing it, right? So let's look at where we do that. It's under administration, lead scoring, and you can see that that's where we programmatically score a lead based on behavior. We can do it in two basic ways. One is a fixed score per activity. So you did a thing, you get a couple points. The other one is in a score multiplier, where if you do something that's very, very crucial, we multiply your score by some multiple. So that's an interesting way. We can do it by a variety of different things here. We can do it based on site visit score, based on page or path. So maybe you went to an interesting page. We can do it based on form submits, email links, email opens. There's just a million different things. Active Demand's lead scoring capabilities are thorough. I'm going to say thorough. There's a lot of lead scoring options that are available inside the platform, and it's not going to leave you wanting in terms of what you'd want to do with lead scoring. What are some examples of how you could practically use this? One of them, request for quote. Okay, they requested a quote. Let's crank them up to 100. That's a hot lead. I want to make sure that my automation later on recognizes it. I'm just going to crank them up to 100. Or booked a demo. Yep, crank them up to 100. That's a good quality lead. I want to make sure that we capture that and we know about it. But there's some other things that are like smaller where you could do something else. If they visit a pricing page, for example, I like this one because if a prospect visits the pricing page and then continues, you're in the right ballpark. Speaking from agency experience, if I had a customer in and they called without looking at our website pricing with an agency could be $500. It could be $5,000. It could be $30,000 or $50,000. So I don't want people who are in a in a order of magnitude different expectations for pricing. So I really like that one, and it's a very interesting one to add if you choose to use lead scoring. Or downloading, like perhaps you have some gated content or you have some sort of free deliverable that they can get access to, but it indicates their place in the sales funnel. So downloading a comparison PDF, and if they're in the comparison stage, that's pretty low down in the sales funnel. They already know that they need the thing. They're already looking at pricing. Now they want to compare like different platforms out there. That's pretty good as well. So these are just some examples of what you might think about when you are considering building out your lead scoring, if you choose to build out lead scoring. Some of the pros and cons of lead scoring. I would say the pros, it considers the sum of activity. So if someone downloads a PDF and visits a lot of pages and they watched the webinar and they did this other thing, they followed you on Twitter, probably need to get in contact with that person. Even if none of those things on their own were very important, just the sum of activity around it is very interesting. It might be something that you want to consider. Another pro is that it's very scalable. This scales up quite easily because we're applying lead scores to a variety of different activities. And the last nice thing is that it prioritizes leads. So a lead score 99, sales gets one of those. They know they need to hop on it right away. A lead score of 20, let's put that at the bottom of the list. We'll still get to them, but it's at the bottom of the list. Some of the cons of it, and I don't want to understate this at all, hard to predict. These can be hard to predict when they will trigger a lead or when they won't trigger a lead, because you really have to look at the contact and see, okay, what did they all do? Why did the system do this? Because it's using an algorithm, so it's a little bit hard to follow the bouncing ball. It doesn't strictly follow business logic, so again, it's just going to follow that sum of behavior and just use those modifiers to do it. And sometimes odd behavior gives really inflated lead scores. Maybe some visitor like clicked between, I don't know, they kept clicking on the pricing page, and you kept giving them 20 points every time that happened, and all of a sudden they're 100 score when they're a real tire kicker of a lead. So some of these are pros and cons. Now, one thing I will say, you don't have to take lead scoring on its own. You can combine lead scoring with filtering and with business logic, and I'll show you an example right here. So I'm going to take you through this. Oh, I wonder if I should use the drawing. I got pen. Yeah, let's try that. I got these drawing options on GoToMeeting. So the first thing that happens here is that we just detect a change of some kind. Then we go in and we check, hey, is their lead score high enough? Are they important enough to send on to sales yet? So if the answer is yes, then we continue. Is it a form submit? Is it one of these more important things that we want to consider? So this is filtering happening right here. And then we can, for example, choose where it's going to go. So we could check, is it Texas? And if it's Texas, we can go down the Texas line. And if it's New York, we can go down the New York line. So you can see there's lots of different options on what we can do and how we choose to go through these. And it doesn't have to just be one or the other. Now, in comparison to using lead scoring or lead scoring in combination with business logic lead filtering is a different style of filtering leads. And it basically filters it based on some hard rules. Are they from a country we do business in? Do they have a business email? Which form was the form important? Is this the first time they did this? And so on and so forth. And filtering your leads using business logic like this is a little bit different than using that lead scoring like that we just looked at. So the things that I like about using business logic lead filtering, it follows strict business logic. And when I say business logic, it's just like decisions that are common in your business. If you asked like a salesperson, what makes a good lead? They probably say like, oh, they're ready to buy and they're served up on a silver platter. But after you talk with them a little bit and drill them a bit on what an ideal lead looks like, they would give you some indicators as to what's a good lead and what's a bad lead. And in using lead filtering like this gives you an easy to predict, repeatable process. Now, some of the downsides of this, you got to build it out. So you have to like ask the salespeople these questions. You have to build these filters in, and you need overrides for weird cases. So when someone from Acme, your most important prospect, comes in and just does like a basic amount of things, you need an override to kick them up to the top of the list, or you need overrides to kick spammers and tire kickers to the bottom of the list. So you do need to think about how you're going to do that. Next, let's look at some lead distribution styles. So these are some of the different lead distribution styles that are built into Active Demand. We've got some interesting ones. The first one, I call it Hunger Games. That's where we send all leads to all salespeople. First person to claim it gets it. So it's based on who's the hungriest, who's going to chase the lead, who's going to be Johnny on the spot and claim it and chase it right away. So that's one option of doing lead distribution. Another one, a more egalitarian lead distribution model, is to do equal distribution. Send them on a round robin of sorts to make sure that you're distributing leads equally among all the salespeople. Merit-based is another example. So which salespeople make the most phone calls, send the most emails, book the most meetings? Let's give them first crack at leads. So that's an option that you can use inside Active Demand as well. Or custom field-based. So we really have the ability to distribute leads based on almost anything just by using those custom fields. You could prioritize them in there. You could have salesperson of the month and they get all the leads, or you could have anything really, because it's a custom field. Again, you can do whatever you want in there. And the last option is in workflow based. We actually looked at that. We looked at the that workflow that we looked at before. It was distributing leads based on territory in there. So our territory for Texas got sent their leads, and our territory for New York got their leads. So we can do that inside workflow as well. And this is an example showing assign contact manager and how you can do that. Here you can see that we can base on the salesperson's activity on who sent the most emails over the last 7 days. So this is just an example showing one of the styles of lead distribution that's available inside Active Demand. It's really thorough, so it's going to cover these things very well. Let's look at accountability with leads sent reports. So you're sending these leads, they're going to some salesperson. Are they doing anything with them? Are they following up? Are they calling them like they're supposed to be? If in marketing, it's kind of hard to tell, but it's super important that they do, right? So part of getting accountability is closing the loop. What happened to that lead after I sent it to sales? Now, with the most basic example of leads sent, you're not going to know, but you will be able to tell someone who will know. So my recommendation on this is to send a recap of leads to the sales manager each week. And because I work for an automation company, of course, this is going to be automated. We're going to automate this recap of leads to the sales manager each week. This works for a low to medium quantity of leads. You wouldn't want to send like hundreds of leads in an email to a sales manager. They're never going to be able to get through it. You're going to have to do some other way of accountability, which we can talk about a little bit later. But this is a very easy, practical way of checking on the leads and making sure that they're being chased. So let's look at how you build it. So the first thing that we're going to do is create a contact list that represents all the contacts that were sent to sales in the last 7 days. It's going to be a dynamic list, so that means it's going to automatically update itself as we go along. If you look at the top left here, you can see us building out the query for this list, and our query is really notification type equals email to sales. Okay, we emailed this to sales, and we created it after or equal to 7 days ago. So go back 7 days. Anything in the last 7 days, we want to get all those people in this list. So that's what this contact list is going to do for us. The next thing that we would need to do, we've got the contact list. Now we need to send this to the sales manager. And what we're going to do for that is we're going to use a scheduled report. So we're going to go create a new scheduled report called Weekly Sales Lead Report. we're going to choose the contact list members widget, and we're going to configure it to use that contact list that we just defined, that leads sent to sales in the last 7 days. And then we're going to have our email. This is our scheduled email that's going to be one that we can send out to sales every once in a while. So I would recommend doing one of these on a weekly basis, because that's most typically what you're going to get results with marketing and with sales management, is by telling them on a weekly basis, here are the leads I sent you. Did you do anything with them or not? Now, if you want to step up in accountability, you may want to consider using claimed leads. This is the red button, green button for leads that are sent out. The concept here is that when marketing has a lead that is good quality and they think should be sent to sales, which again we just showed that's going to be automatic, an email is sent to sales, and sales has the opportunity to do two things. They could claim it or reject it. So really, it's sending a message. This, by clicking that button, sales is sending a message back to marketing. First, let's look at reject. If a salesperson rejects a lead, they're saying, this lead's not worth my time. Don't filter these out. I don't want to see these kinds anymore. So marketing looks at the rejected leads and they try to figure out how to filter those out or how to send fewer of them to sales. Claim. Now, if a salesperson claims the lead, that looks good. Maybe I'll call them in 3 hours and then follow up with an email. There has to be some sort of, I don't want to say a contract, but there has to be like a contract between sales and marketing. If sales claims a lead, they're going to do X, Y, and Z. And the person responsible for checking that they do X, Y, and Z is typically the sales manager. So sales manager would make sure that salespeople are doing something with leads and they're not just claiming them all, basically just like licking them like a kid would lick all the donuts in a donut box to say they're all his, right? In this example here, they would need to do something with that lead afterwards. So we get a message back. The other thing that happens when you claim a lead is that it sets the contact manager. So inside ActiveDemand, that's what it does. It sets the contact manager. It also adds to the lead notification activity thing in the bottom there, and you can see claims or releases. So you can claim leads. You can also release leads as well. I tried it. I don't really like them that much. I release this lead. It's not something I'm going to chase anymore. So you can see the history of that, and you can build queries based on that. So let's look at what we can do with those queries. We could check if there are any unclaimed leads. Hey, we sent some leads to sales within the last 7 days, but they weren't claimed. So the purpose of this list would be to show the leads we've sent to sales in the last 7 days that have not yet been claimed. This really helps with stopping leads from falling through the cracks. Any sales manager, when they see those that fantastic Acme lead that they sent to a salesperson, but it didn't get actioned afterwards, oh, that hurts, because marketing put the time and money into getting that lead. It was qualified. It was sent to sales. To just waste away and not do anything afterwards is terrible. So using some unclaimed lead reporting will definitely help with the accountability and with the trackability of how this is going as we go along. And the last thing to consider is CRM integration. So I talked a little bit earlier about lead claiming. How about if they claim the leads, we just automatically post those into the CRM? That's something that's possible. Rejected leads, we could send those in Slack. We could put those in the CRM too, but we could make sure to filter those out. And then the unclaimed leads, we send those to the sales manager so that they can kick some butt. He or she can kick some butt on those salespeople. And I actually showed the post to CRM right at the bottom there on this slide. You can see down here we are posting to Pipedrive or whatever CRM you've got. We can post it in there. So again, very easy to do this kind of stuff in ActiveDemand, and very powerful as well, because this gives us an excellent way of ensuring the marketing to sales chain is unbroken. The thing we'd want to do after this is synchronize all of our contacts from our CRM back down to active demand and figure out how many of them the deals are closing, for example. So we could take a look at sales and see how many leads are closing, what kinds of leads close, which channels deliver leads that close, and all that other good stuff. And that's fantastic for accountability. And really, like, accountability and measurement, like all this stuff is coming back to understanding which marketing is working and which marketing is delivering results for us. And that those are the bits that we need in order to get good results as marketers and to grow as marketers as well. We won't be able to grow if we can't see the results of our work, the fruits of our labor, really. So that's why getting this stuff in is super critical. And I hope some of the examples that I've shown you today are going to be helpful in getting better attribution, getting better accountability with your sales. For further reading on this, if you want to like dive deep and just figure out how to do something, learn.activedemand.com is a good start. Engage.activedemand.com is where you get to our support section. Those support articles go very in depth. If you want to do something like pretty comprehensive, maybe book a support session and have them show you how to do the thing. Or if you've just got little quick questions, just head on over to the live chat and they'd help you out as well.